Good morning. Rebecca Vigus, the writer whisperer, here from a sunny South Central Kentucky. Hope you are all doing well. As you know, I was off for eye surgery last Thursday and Friday. It was a success. Not that I expected it wouldn't be, but one never knows when you're messing with your eyes. So, if you see my hanky come up, it's because my eye is still watering. It's not a big deal. I can see out of it very well. So all is well in that part of the world. Now, dialogue. Oh, wait, she wants to talk about dialogue. Yeah, I do. It's probably the hardest thing you will ever write. It's also the easiest thing you will ever write. Wait a minute. How can it be hard and easy? Hard is because you make it that way. Easy is because you pay attention to how people talk. I read the book, If You Can Speak, You Can Write. I believe the author, I know his first name is Joel. I believe his last name is Saltzman, Saltzman. I cannot find it, but that's nothing new. I can't find any of my writing books right now, so bear with me because I have a slew of them that I can draw from. But the best advice he gave was to go to your local coffee shop, your morning cafe, wherever you go, place your order, get your order, sit down where you can watch people. Take a notebook by all means and something to write with. But you just want to watch people. How do they tilt their head? Do they rest their hand like this? Are they animated when they talk? What are their facial expressions? Are they happy? Are they sad? Can you tell that they're angry? How do they respond to the person that they're talking to? And what if they're talking in sign language? How do you know which one's deaf? Or if they both are? I had a lesson in that from an 8-year-old. Not quite 8-year-old. My daughter and I were traveling in Canada before she started 4th grade. And we were sitting in a restaurant one night, and she leaned over to me and said, "Mom, you see those people talking sign language?" And they were a couple tables over from us. And I said, "Yeah." She said, "The lady isn't deaf." And I looked at her, and I looked at the couple whose hands are both moving rapidly and said, "How do you know?" "Mom, the lady's saying everything that she signs. So if he misses the sign, he can read her lips." How did my daughter know this at 7.5 years old? Her 3rd grade teacher taught them all sign language at the beginning of this school year. That way, should she get laryngitis during the year, she could still teach and not say a word. Because all the kids knew sign language. And it is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. My daughter graduated high school, was working in a local boutique, and a lady came in, and she was another lady was asking questions, and she said, "Wait a minute." She turned to the lady and tapped her on the shoulder and said something in sign language, and the woman beamed from ear to ear because here was someone who could speak her language, and she didn't need someone to interpret. It was an amazing day. So, pay attention, folks. Dialogue's not hard. You talk every day. You don't talk in complete sentences generally. Not when you're having conversation with your best bud. Think about it. Think about the last conversation you had with your best friend. Did you talk in complete sentences? Nope. We don't do that. And if we do talk, we talk in short sentences. We don't go on and on and on and on and on and on. The other person would get bored with us. There'd be a one-sided conversation. It'd be you talking to no one. Okay, now there's a difference between dialect and dialogue. Dialect is the way people speak. Those in Great Britain or the UK or England or Ireland or Scotland tend to drop their H's. Helen becomes Ellen. House becomes ouse. Those are things people do. A lot of times people drop the G's on ing words. Thinking, talking, chatting. Doing, D-O-I-N, doing. Not uncommon. You'll hear people say your instead of your. Or ye, what do ye think you're doing? And it would be whatty, W-H-A-T-E-E, whatty you think you're doing? What do ye think you're doing? For watch your, it becomes watcher. Watch your P's and Q's. It's how it's said. When you get beyond the Midwest, you get, and sometimes even in the South, but I think of Texas as having a drawl in that they oversay the vowels. And it's not something that's conscious. It's just that's the way they speak. That's the way the people around them speak. Most of your hillbillies, which are, according to Webster's dictionary, backwoods Michigan farmers, most of your hillbillies from whatever state they're from, seen things. I seen it yesterday. They never saw anything because a saw is what you cut wood with. I seen your ma at the grocery store. Does not matter how educated they are. If this is the language they grew up with, this is the language they speak. In South Carolina, in the area I lived in, there was a second English language. It was called Gullah. It was even taught in one of the elementary schools. English was taught as Gullah, which is a combination of English and African. And it's deeply rooted in the South. It's a beautiful language, but those children who are taught Gullah also have to learn English to be successful. Because outside of their communities, Gullah is not spoken. And no, it's not a pidgin English. That's different. That's somebody from another country trying to assimilate and speak English without having all the vocabulary to do that. And it becomes a broken English. Okay, that's different. Dialect is what people are taught as infants. It's what they grow up hearing. Okay, so do not confuse that with dialogue. Dialogue is speech, plain and simple. It's what you say, not how you say it. How you say it is conveyed in all the words around what you're saying. Johnny shook his head no as he uttered the words, "Wasn't me, wasn't me." Imagine how Johnny feels shaking his head no, hollering that it wasn't him. Something's got him frightened. You need to create the situation that tells me how people look, how people act when they are speaking. Speaking is what you do every day. At some point in time, you speak to someone. I'm not asking you to choose your words carefully. I'm just asking you to think about it. Joe Saltzman's suggestion, and it's probably the best I've ever had, is to go to your local coffee shop, breakfast hangout. Anytime you're in a restaurant, you don't have to stare at people, but you can observe how people are interacting. You don't have to hear the words. You can see it in their facial expressions. You can see whether or not they're using their hands. Are they speaking in sign language? Is the other person responding in sign language? It's a lesson in people watching. And it's important that you do it because you get all different mannerisms, all different ways of walking, all their little idiosyncrasies. These are what make your story great. All these little things you put in. Samantha has this habit of chewing one nail all the time when she's nervous. She's got this finger in her mouth. Makes you wonder, was Samantha someone who sucked her finger? Or is it just a nervous habit? Because when she's out with friends and having a good time, you never see that finger near her mouth. She's laughing and talking and having a drink, but she's not got her fingers near her mouth because she's not stressed. But when she's stressed or nervous, she's got one finger in her mouth. Maybe Samantha bites her fingernails, and at some point, all of her fingernails are like down to the nub. Maybe that's her thing. She chews them all off. And not to pick on Samantha or anybody else whose name I use, that I'm just pulling them out of my hat. It's no reflection on anybody. So today, I was going to give you an example, but I can't find it in my computer. And I don't know where I've put it as a solitary sheet. But I want you to write 7-word dialogue. You have two people talking. You can give a description of where they're at and what they're doing. That's not a problem. But they can neither one say more than 7 words. And I will dig mine up for tomorrow, so that you know what I did as a 7-word dialogue. And you can get the feelings out of this dialogue without telling me somebody's angry, or frustrated, or has heard it all before. Just using 7-word dialogue. It's one scene out of a million scenes is all you're going to write. One little tiny scene, no more than 7 words for any one person at any one time. So they may speak at 2 or 3 different times or 4 or 5 different times, but they're not saying more than 7 words in each time. Think about that one. 2 people. 2 people. Any 2 people. And they're going to have a 7-word dialogue where neither one of them is going to say more than 7 words. And in some cases, they're only going to say 1 or 2. Or maybe 3 or 4. But they're not going to say more than 7. You're going to write this all down. You can bring it tomorrow and we'll share them. You can email it to me if you want suggestions or comments. My email is down below. All the places to reach me are down below. Think about what you want to say. or what you want these two people to say. Are they arguing? Are they excited? Are they seeing each other after a long time? Are they a parent and a child? Are they spouses? Are they two young kids? Are they a grandparent and a child? There's a lot that you can say in less than 7 words. And don't tell me dialogue is hard. You speak every day. Don't worry about dialect at this point. Just get the words said. Then read them out loud. What have you conveyed? What am I going to take away from this if you send it to me? Am I going to understand what's going on? Because that's the important thing. Your reader has to understand what's going on. What's being said? What's the underlying that's not being said? Because there will be some if you do it right. Dialogue is used in your story to move the story forward. If it's a mystery, it might be to throw a red herring in there and have you looking in a different direction for a few minutes. In a romance, it may be what makes or breaks the romance. In historical fiction, could it be the one thing that may have changed history? You can't change history. It is what it is. It's happened. But you can make your character wonder, what would happen if I had done something else? Because hindsight is always better than foresight. You can always look at the things that you have done and say, gee, I wished I'd done that differently. Or, did I really do that? What was I thinking? And how can I fix it? If it can be fixed. Dialogue is what you say. It's what your characters say to each other. It's how the story moves. If you are writing a narrative where there is no dialogue, you're going to lose your reader faster than I don't know what. Because they don't want you to tell them what's happening. They want you to show them. And you can't show them if people don't talk. And this is the hardest thing for beginning writers, is to understand you can't tell your reader everything. You have to show them. If your character is faced with two opponents and they know they're going to be attacked, what does your character do? They take action, they evade, they strike, they might even say something. Hey, fellas, you think we could talk about this? Knowing that the fellas are going to probably just ignore that request. Or is your guy going to be a dapper kind of person that says, fellas, we can do this, but please don't mess up my suit? And you're laughing because you know his suit's going to get messed up. And so is he. Or maybe it's a female and she's not really very big and they don't see her as a threat until all of a sudden one of them is flat on his face and the other one's going, whoa, it happened. And the next thing he knows, he's in air because, oh, wait, she knows some martial arts and she's way up there in the belt range, black belt, whatever it is for that martial art. And holy cow, she took them both out. Not only that, she took them out and tied them up together. Now she's telling them maybe we better talk. Because why on earth are they attacking her to begin with? But your narrator's not going to say this if you have a narrator in your story. You're going to see action. Her leg flew out and some guy went sprawling on his face. And while the other guy is trying to adjust, she comes up and headbutts him in the middle and he collapses. And the next thing they know, she's got him hogtied to a pole and each other. She's sitting on a chair, backwards chair, with her hands on the back of it going, okay, guys, we're going to do some talking. And one of them moans, ain't talking to you, she said. You ain't hurting bad enough then? Want to go again? Another guy says, shut up, Hank. My arm's already broke. So think about it. What are you going to say in your 7-word dialogue in one tiny little scene that won't take more than a page? I'll type it over here. Whoops. Seven-word dialogue. One scene, one page. That's it. Have fun with it. Happy writing. See you tomorrow at 10.